Hey everybody, what's going on? Greg here with Z21 Learning, and today we're going to take a look at doing mugshots. This is going to be a two-part series. Part one, we're going to focus on doing animated mugshots. Then in part two, we're going to take a look at doing mugshot stills. Animated mugshots, these are basically just mugshots we get that we then go ahead and put inside a After Effects template, and we render that template out, and we then give that to News, and they can use it for video. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so let's get into it. So normally what will happen is you'll get some sort of correspondence from the news department. It could be written, it could be verbal. In this case, it's a written request, and they're just saying, hey, I want you to go ahead and take this mugshot and make it into a piece of video. Now, they may go ahead and use different terminology that all means the same thing, such as, make this mug VO, make this into video, make this move. They're basically all saying, hey, I want this to be an animated mugshot. If you get a request and you're not quite sure what it is that the news department is asking for, feel free to go ahead and seek out the person who asked the request and get verbal confirmation from them about what it is they want. You want to make sure that you know for certain what their request is before you do the work and then realize, oh, well, nuts, I did it wrong and I have to redo it. So in this request, I know, this is actually from me, so I know what I want, but I want to go ahead and make this mugshot. I want to make it an animated mugshot. There's two things I'm also looking for in these requests. One is I want to make sure that I know the name of the individual. In this case, it happens to be Lawrence. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that they attached the picture of the mugshot. Believe it or not, I've gotten requests before where they attached the picture and they didn't tell me the name, or they told me the name and they didn't attach the picture. It's just a mess. So make sure that you have both those things before proceeding forward. So in this case, I know I have both. I'm going to click on the picture, opens up a new tab. I'm going to go ahead and copy the picture. And what I need to do right now is I need to go ahead and take this picture and put it inside a Photoshop canvas and center it up, which I can then save as a Photoshop file or a JPEG or TIFF or something, and then bring that file into After Effects where I can easily render it out. So I've copied the picture and I happen to have Photoshop launched. I'm going to go over to my Actions button. If you're not seeing this, just go up to Window and press Actions. And I happen to have a Actions preset for mugshots. If you're not seeing this in your Actions panel, I'm in button mode. You can change that by clicking the lines here in the top right. Make sure that button mode is checked. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press the mugshots. And it generates this canvas for me with these two guides in the middle. Now I'm going to go up to Edit, Paste, and that pastes my picture on in here. So now I need to center my picture, and I happen to have the Move tool selected. If you haven't selected it yet, make sure you do that. I'm just going to click on my picture and center it between these two guides. So that looks pretty good. I'm not too concerned that the picture doesn't go all the way up to the edge of the canvas here on the left. We're actually not going to be seeing this part of the picture for the most part. I will say though, I do recommend having the picture overlap outside these guidelines just a little bit, just kind of give yourself the extra buffer space. So now I'm ready to go ahead and save out this picture. So I'm going to go to File, click Save As. Close this panel up a little bit, it's kind of big. So go to Raw Media. And Raw Media, this is just like a temporary folder that I purge out on a daily basis. If you don't have a raw media folder on your computer, that's totally fine. You don't need one by any means. You can just go on your desktop and create a new temporary folder. So in here, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this Lawrence Mug. And by the way, this is just a fake name. If your name happens to be Lawrence and you're watching this video, I apologize. I just picked the name at random. Lawrence Mug. Save. That's fine. And we're done in Photoshop. So I'm actually going to close that out. And we're going to go into After Effects. So now I need to go ahead and open up the mugshot template that we use. So I'm going to go up to File, Open Project. And then my project I happen to have saved locally here on my computer. It's in the Documents folder, Mugs Template, CC, and then there's a Mugs Template copy right here. And there's a Mugs Template project right here you can use. I do know on the graphics PC, it's in library under videos. There should be a Mugs template CC folder in there. If it's not there, let me know and I can put it one. If it's not there, let me know and I can put one in there. If you're on a computer where it's not saved locally, that's totally okay. You can go onto the network and access the news graphics folder. Then you can go into graphics hold and there's a Mugs template CC here. So I'm going to go back to documents and I'm going to open up Mugs. I'm going to open up my Mugs After Effects project. So now first things first, before I do anything else, I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to save this in my temporary folder. I'm going to rename it to be Lawrence Mug. And the reason why I'm doing this first is so that any changes I make to this project are going to be saved under a new title as a copy, and they won't affect the original master copy of the After Effects project. If for whatever reason you're working in here and you accidentally overwrite the original version, that's totally okay. Just let me know and I can go ahead and take care of it. So let's go ahead and talk briefly about what you're looking at inside of After Effects. So down here at the bottom left or bottom side of your screen, so down here towards the bottom of your screen, you have this timeline with all these different tabs here open. So the first ones I want to talk about are these Mug Info tabs. And basically these are compositions that allow you to go ahead and see the picture as well as type in the name and the last name of the person's mug. Type in the first and last name of the person. So we have up to 6 different mugshots that you can go ahead and do within this composition. Once you're done editing inside of the Mug Info, you then just select the mugshot composition that you need to work with. And all you have to do in here is literally just export this out. You don't have to worry about adding any keyframes or changing the animation or anything like that. These are all preset, ready to go. Then we have this one mug variant over here. And I'll explain this one in a little bit. This one's a little bit trickier, but not by that much. So to go ahead and change out the picture, over here in my projects tab, I've got a folder for mugs. And underneath there, we've got these different placeholders, and these are just PSD files. So I know that I want to just do one mug in this case. I'm going to select the first mug. I'm going to right click on it, go over to Replace Footage, File. And then in this case, it's already navigated to where my mugshot is. So I'm just going to do Open. And that's fine. We're going to import it as a merged layer. That's totally okay. And we'll notice that because I went ahead and sized it up inside of Photoshop, the mugshot appears centered inside of this composition, so I don't have to worry about any more tweaking with it. So now I need to go ahead and change out the first and last name. So I'm going to go up here to the Type tool, select that, and then I'm going to highlight the first name, type in Lawrence. I'm going to highlight the last name. Oops, select it down here. Highlight the last name. I'm going to type in Lawrence. So now that I have this Mug Info comp edited, where I can see the picture and the text, I'm ready to go ahead and... So now I've got everything typed in here. So now that I have everything typed in this composition, I'm going to go over to the one mug. I can just scrub through the timeline, make sure everything looks fine. One thing you might notice when I scrub through a timeline is we kind of have this gap down here at the bottom of the image. And the reason why we have a gap here is sometimes we go ahead and superimpose a CG or lower third over this mugshot, and we don't want the CG to cover out the text in the picture. So that's why it's positioned like that. So at this point, this mugshot is ready to go, so I can come up here and actually save my project first. Because I already saved this under Lawrence Mug, I don't have to worry about overwriting the original one. And then to export this one mug out, I'm going to go up to Composition. I'm going to go up to Composition. And I have two options. I have one that says Add to Render Queue, and then another that says Add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue. Render Queue, this is the native render queue inside of After Effects. So that basically means that After Effects is going to render this one out if you send it to the render queue. If you send it to Adobe Media Encoder queue, Media Encoder is a separate software application that Adobe has designed just for rendering out animations and videos from things such as Premiere Pro or After Effects. The benefit to using Media Encoder is that while Media Encoder is rendering things, you can keep working in After Effects or Premiere Pro. So in this case, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send this to Adobe Media Encoder. And I happen to have mine open. If your application, if Media Encoder isn't open for you, it should launch automatically once you send it from After Effects. If it still doesn't launch, you can launch it manually. If that still doesn't work, then, well, you have a problem. Go talk to engineering or somebody. So inside here, we have the format. It's going to be H.264. The preset. There's an MPG export option that I recommend using. If you don't see this on your computer, just go talk to engineering and they can get that set up for you. Then the output file, I'm going to change this. The way Media Encoder works is it looks at where your After Effects project is, in which case I saved mine here in this Lawrence Mug folder. And then what Media Encoder does is it creates a new folder inside of the original folder and saves the Media Encoder files in there as well as the final render. So I'm actually going to go ahead and change that to be just saved here in the Lawrence Mug. I'm going to go ahead and change the name of it from being one mug to Lawrence Mug. Press save. And then once I'm ready, I can just go ahead and press the play button up here, and that starts the cue. So I mentioned earlier that we had this one mug variant, and the difference with this is you'll notice the picture's off on one side, and the text is here to the right of it. If I scrub on through the timeline, there we go. It goes ahead and zooms in. Then it slides over to the left as the text is revealed to the right. The way this one works is we really want it to be set up so that the picture and the text, if you think of this as kind of one unit, we want these to be as centered as reasonably possible in the middle of the screen. So right down here, we have this master null. Basically, the picture and the text are linked to this master null object. So they come up here and click my selection tool. Well, notice that when I click, I click here inside this red box, I'm actually moving both the text and the picture around on the screen. Now it's important when you do this that you click on the second keyframe here. There's a reason why I added a marker here to go ahead and highlight that point. You really want to make sure that you're changing the second keyframe and not the first one. So they have like a really short name. Let me go ahead and change his name. We're going to do something like, maybe his name is just Joe. And his last name is, he's Joe Gary or something like that. We notice that the text, because it's so short, this really seems like it's very offset more to the left. And what I would want to do then is I want to click the master null. And then I'm going to hold down the shift button and just kind of drag. Oops, let me click here first. There we go. Then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and click here inside this red box and just drag it over to the right so that it seems more centered in the middle of the screen. Now one thing you might notice is as you drag, you're not dragging it in a straight line. To go ahead and change that, just hold down the shift button and that's going to lock your X value for the position so that you can't change that. Now that's going to lock your P value for position, so you can't go ahead and move it up or down. You can only move it horizontally from side to side. So once I have that positioned where I want it, you can see when I scrub on through the timeline here, that looks pretty good. Because I did it at this keyframe, 7 seconds 15, it didn't create any more keyframes here in the timeline, so I don't have to worry about that as being an issue either. Vice versa, let's say you have a really long name where the name stretches out over here. I could slide the picture over to the left so that the name would go ahead and fit also on the screen. One thing I do want to point out is, let's say you want to go ahead and change the name here from being one mug variant. You go up to composition and go to composition settings. Then I can come in here and I can just call this, maybe Joe Gary mug. So that when I went ahead and exported this out to Media Encoder, it would show up as being Joe Gary mug and not just one mug. You don't have to do that. That's just an extra step if you wanted to. If you ever add something to the queue that you don't need, you can just go up here to the minus sign to delete it. And that's what I'm going to do in this case. That's totally fine. So that's pretty much it. Once you're done with doing mugshots, once you're done with the mugshot, you're then going to go ahead and send it to the producer. They may ask you to send to a MOS ID. Maybe they want you to WeTransfer it to them or put it in the O1 News Temp folder. And then once you've done that, I would recommend sending an email to the producer or whoever asked for it and basically telling them basically just letting them know basically just telling them that, hey, this is done and here's where it's located. In part 2 of the series, as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and talk about doing mugshot stills. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thanks for watching. See you guys later.